The Outer Worlds is out in the Outer Worlds now. Good start, Josh, and it's giving players the open world RPG fix they've been jonesing for too long. It might not be a 100-hour epic like Fallout or the Elder Scrolls, but Obsidian's game still packs so much into 30 or so hours, with the consequences of your choices echoing all across the Halcyon colony. The main quest sees your unfrozen explorer travel from planet to planet in an attempt to save the rest of the Hope, but that quickly takes a backseat to your own curiosity. However, while a lot of these extra missions and secrets strike the same humorous chord the game revels in, there's plenty of horrifying, unnerving moments to find that would be right at home in the post-apocalypse of any Fallout title. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and this is the Outer Worlds 11 disturbing secrets and locations you totally missed. And as always, spoilers ahead. Number 11, Herbert's Safe House. Cascadia is one of the most dangerous places in the Outer Worlds. You can travel there from quite early on in the game, but it's made clear that you'll probably die as soon as you land, as the outpost is overrun by terrible beasties. Even worse, you might accidentally end up stuck there, thinking you can use the crossing inside the base, which turns out to be locked, to get to the other part of the map. After further exploring the planet and doing missions, you'll be able to unlock this connective bridge, which just so happens to have an elevator on it. Take it down and you'll find a single enemy inside a building, alongside a woolly cow and a bunch of auto mechanicals. It turns out this guy wasn't a danger at all, but had been living there for years. When Cascadia went to hell, Herbert was taken down there by his parents and locked away. His father succumbed to a leg injury, while his mother was in a coma. Before they died, they set up a bunch of auto mechanicals to keep him alive in the isolated stronghold all on his own. Until you came along anyway. Number 10, the Gravediggers. One of the first places you visit in the Outer Worlds is Edgewater, which is so deprived of resources and food that the inhabitants have resorted to some pretty drastic measures just to get by. I mean, who wouldn't when, say, the bill for a suicide gets lumped with whoever discovered the body? This exact scenario happens to one person called Phyllis, after discovering the body of a man called Eugene, and you're forced to collect burial fees from her. It's a pretty sordid affair, but you can do some digging into the nature of his demise and discover he didn't technically kill himself. On top of this, it's revealed he had some pretty valuable gold teeth, something which a bunch of people actually knew about that he took to his grave. Check out his burial site afterwards though, and his body has mysteriously vanished alongside all traces of those teeth. Number 9, PHINEAS' failed experiments. He's billed as a mad scientist, a traitor, and murderer, but at the end of the day, it turns out that Phineas Wells is a pretty sound guy. He might not have always chosen the best methods, but his desire to save everyone on the Hope and provide for the entire Halcyon colony results in the good ending. It took him a while to get there though, and he made a whole bunch of fatal mistakes attempting to revive the colonists before he succeeded with you. It's made clear early on that bringing the Hope's inhabitants back is nigh on impossible, and it wasn't easy for Phineas to successfully revive you without any weird side effects, including, death. You can dig into his failed attempts though, as he got plenty of Hope colonists killed while attempting to bring them back. Often the deaths ended up being pretty horrific, and they don't sit well with him, but they were all worth it in the end, right? Number 8, Ash's dirty secret. If you spend some time looking around Amber Heights, you'll probably bump into Ash drinking in a bar. No, not that one, she's out elsewhere in the world downing Jaeger bombs to angel dust. Anyway, if you buy other Ash a round or two, he'll open up eventually, explaining he used to be part of a team who all died. He asks the player to venture to their old outpost and pick up a couple of trinkets and memories he can cherish. Stirred on by his emotional story, you say yes and fight your way through to the burial site. While searching the bodies, you can find a ledger, which makes it clear that Ash was never actually part of the squad, but the man paid to pick them all up the night they died. Instead of meeting them though, he opted for another better paying job and left them stranded, then drafted in you to pick up any incriminating evidence. Number 7, powering the botanical gardens. The first moral choice the Outer Worlds throws at you is a biggie, and there's no initial right or wrong answer. On Terra 2, you're introduced to Edgewater, a town under the boot of the board, resulting in malnourished but genuinely good people, and a splinter group living in the botanical gardens who have solved the food problem but don't have the stability of that city overall. In order to get your ship back up and running, you have to deprive one of these settlements of power, and you might be inclined to side with the new group. After all, they aren't suffering from the plague for one, and they actually have some semblance of freedom. The ending slideshow reveals the consequences of doing that though, and they ain't pretty. It explains that a good chunk of Edgewater residents were turned away from the new settlement and starved in the wilderness, while the Botanical Gardens inhabitants refused to aid the wider problems in the Halcyon, and that their leader Adelaide didn't even last a year before dying. Number 6. Whatever the hell is going on with Clive? Clive is one of the creepiest dudes in Obsidian's new game, and it's a shame that he gets such little screen time. After meeting Catherine in Fallbrook, she'll tell you Clive needs to go, as he's causing her far too much grief with his Sisty Pig slaughterhouse, and tasks the player with fixing her problem. You could just walk through the front door and shoot him in the head, but that will deprive you of one weird as all hell encounter. If you make it to his office undetected, you'll find him cleaning blood and viscera off his person, which he says is just from the animals. If you have high enough intelligence, or a BS detector in general, you'll realize it's definitely human blood though, and further conversation makes it clear the self-proclaimed king has a bit of a screw loose. And there is another way you can get up to his office as well, by being served up as dinner. Actually, yeah, maybe walking straight in and shooting this guy right in the face is the best option after all. Number 5, the extraterrestrial invasion. Dealing with Lilia Hagen of the Sublight Corporation provides players with one of the best questlines in the Outer Worlds, and one which is vital to uncovering the implications of the main plot before the climax. It's also completely insane, and Lilia is a totally paranoid mess. She has you investigate a bunch of different locations, all of which turn out to be labs attempting to unlock potential in humans. They're eerie as all hell, and everywhere you go there's dead bodies, people in suspended animation, and strange lab logs hinting at what's really going on. Eventually though, you do realise they aren't quite as sinister as first thought, though they're still pretty bad, as they're an attempt to stave off the impending food crisis. But Lilia won't take that for an answer. In her mind, the experiments are clear evidence of an alien conspiracy, of an extraterrestrial invasion insidiously taking over the Halcyon colony. Her belief is unwavering, and in the ending slideshow, it's revealed she suffered a quote-unquote accident after committing to her story. Number 4, BRAXTON'S Tea Party. This is a quest you can actually acquire relatively early, as soon as you touch down on the Stellar Bay landing pad. While exploring the town, talk to Velma in the warehouse, who'll ask you to track down Braxton, who is making deliveries to a family just outside the settlement. Visit the house and you'll be invited in for dinner, but it's clear something is off straight away. Despite trying to wrangle your way out of the unwanted social situation and just finish the quest, they'll insist, and it becomes quickly apparent that you found Braxton all too well, and he's actually in your food. The people he was delivering to got a taste for flesh, and you can find his decapitated body locked away upstairs. Number 3, the Early Retirement Program. The Outer Worlds doesn't hide the fact that the board and their practices are utterly terrible. However, the people of Byzantium, the ones who benefit the most from the board's schemes, are just as bad, to the point where one resident asks you to look into the Early Retirement Scheme, which they think allows undeserving underclasses to live in the city where they do not belong. On the surface, the system seems surprisingly generous. The idea is that it essentially works as a lottery, and the lucky winners get to leave their poverty and live on Byzantium in peace. Hell, they even get their own district. Of course, when you enter the program yourself, it becomes clear what's really going on. After signing a contract that says the board isn't responsible for any potential injury or death, and that they can claim all your belongings should something terrible happen, you're ushered away from the regal hallways of the upstairs into a grim basement with the rest of the lucky winners. Here, it's revealed the entire plan is to execute anyone chosen for the scheme, which the quest giver is actually relieved by. Number 2, sending the Hope into the sun. Though there's a lot of variation in the endings you can get in the Outer Worlds, there's only really 2 or so ways to finish out the main plot. There's the quote-unquote good ending where you side with PHINEAS, overthrow the board, and save the Hope, or at least partly, or the bad conclusion that sees you join the board, take PHINEAS in, and freeze most of the Halcyon's residents in response to the food crisis. However, there is a secret, almost joke ending that only presents itself should you have below average intelligence. In most RPGs, being stupid unlocks new dialogue options that allows you to bumble through conversations. but here it opens up the option at the end to redirect the Hope ship directly into the sun. Doing so kills everyone on board, obviously, and it skips the final area in the game entirely and doesn't give you the ending slideshow. Congratulations then, you not only killed thousands of innocent people, but doomed the entire colony. Well done. Number 1, FREY'S silent voices. There's nothing spookier than a derelict space station in a sci-fi story. So many movies and games, from Event Horizon to Dead Space, have made it the center of their plot, and it wouldn't have been right if the Outer Worlds also didn't have one that you could visit. The station in question is Relay GB-23, a communications center that you're tasked to check out. For some reason, it's gone offline, and after killing the robots there, you can finally piece together why. Reading the nearby data logs, it's revealed that a man named Frey made the station his home in order to get away from the voices in his head. After a bunch of diary entries, he recollects how the voices were driving him to do terrible things, that they were becoming too much, and that he was afraid of what he'd do. In an attempt to escape, he traveled to the station to get as far away as possible, and while it initially worked, the voices did come back with a vengeance. And with no way to satiate the bloodlust, he put a bullet in his brain to drown them out forever. So that's our list. Want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have you been enjoying the Outer Worlds, and are there any secrets or little quests that I missed off this list? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.